Hello everyone, sorry for not posting on my second channel for a while. I've just been really busy moving to the other side of the goddamn planet, just getting my mind all sorted out, if you get what I mean. In case you didn't know, I moved to Australia. I'm staying here for a year and it's just genuinely been a lot. It's also my first time moving, so you know, it has really been an experience. But anyway, today I want to talk a little bit about the video game industry, because there's something I've been saying for about a year now, and that is that we are on the brink of some sort of video game industry crash. I'm not sure how to exactly word it, but you get what I mean, right? The main reason for that is because games have just become way too expensive to make, to the point that it is not even really feasible anymore. You think the higher budgets would make for crazy, insane games, but like, that's maybe 10% of the times. 90% of the time, it just doesn't. And it's the reason why I strayed away from AAA a lot. The only company that really seems to have it under control somewhat is Nintendo. Everyone else is just floundering around like a headless chicken. To put it in perspective, okay, well, what I'm talking about, the president of Capcom a few months ago said that the game prices are way too low because the budget of these big AAA games have again just skyrocketed. I wouldn't even be surprised if Resident Evil 4 Remake cost like 200+ million to make. Some higher up at Take-Two said they'd want to do a $ per hour measurement for the next GTA instead of just having it priced at a standard $70. Insomniac Spider-Man, you know, the Spider-Man game that came out a couple of months ago, that game cost over $300+ million to make. 300 million is absolutely absurd. And then you also have Horizon Forbidden West, which is sitting at a casual 200+ million budget. Like, Jesus Christ, man, the budget of these games have just gone way too high. And what sucks about it is that, again, most of the games, they blow or they are just straight up mediocre. It's slop. It is straight up video game slop. Which brings me to the main topic I really want to talk a bit more about. Sometimes these games, even with all their very fancy and expensive marketing, they just don't perform well, because these AAA games often play it very safe because they can't really afford to take a big risk. I actually have an example. EA had a game a couple of months ago, like half a year or so ago, called Immortals of Avium, which is this magic FPS game, which looks somewhat neat. I'm sure if I would try it out, I would somewhat enjoy it, but it just doesn't look insane or anything. It looks very like okay-ish, but the game performed really badly because nobody cared about it. It was also just a really packed year to add insult to injury, but it only has, on Steam at least, it only has 1K reviews and a peak player count of 750. That is really goddamn bad for a high budget AAA game, and because the game performed this badly, the studio just instantly shut down, just like that, with a snap of my fingers. The same thing sort of happened to Forspoken, which was another game that just didn't receive well in the slightest, and like, I'm pretty sure they didn't make enough money back to even come even. So what Square Enix did, they just absorbed the studio into themselves. They folded them into Square Enix, which honestly, I understand why, but it's still a shame, man. It's just, again, a big risk to make a big budget game like this. And if it doesn't pay off, you know, why would you continue? Even if you have a good idea, you won't know if it's really gonna pay off until it's all done. And in the case of Immortals of Avium and Forspoken, it wasn't a success. It was a huge blunder. And to avoid further money loss, you know, they just let go of the studio. So in short, what is usually happening in the industry is that studios pump a lot of money into a project, but it just doesn't make enough back. They lose money on it. So to make sure they don't lose even more, they have to start scaling back, which means, you guessed it, layoffs. Yay! Now, these companies could go to Satoru Iwata route. In case you don't know, Satoru Iwata cut his own pay in half to prevent layoffs at Nintendo around the Wii U era. The higher-ups could do that, but then the higher-ups can't afford their absurdly expensive mansion anymore. So instead, you just get like a crap load of layoffs, and that's what we're seeing right now. Xbox, I think yesterday, had almost 2,000 people laid off, and this was was about 3 months after they bought Activision. Almost 2,000 people. Like, I don't need to really put it on paper. Like, that's a lot. That's an insane amount. The creator of Anthem Blast, which is like this platforming game that got paired a lot with the Pizza Tower, the creator of that tweeted a bunch of the layoffs. Well, he retweeted a bunch of them. And you can just scroll on his profile, and it just keeps going and going and going. There are so many people that lost their job. And this is why I'm saying why we are approaching some sort of video game crash, because all these studios keep laying off so many goddamn people again and again and again and again, and it keeps on going. Tony Grayson also said that Toys for Bob was looking very bleak. In case you don't know, Toys for Bob is the studio that made the recent Crash Bandicoot and Spyro games, which were all really good. Like, this was a really talented studio, and apparently like a big chunk of the studio, you know, just got laid off just like that, and I think that's a big shame. It's genuinely really sad to see. Like, all these people, all they really want to do is make really cool games. Like, they have ideas floating around in their head and they want to make that a reality, but the way the industry is really built mostly is that it has to either be a big game, like a big AAA game, or it has to be live servers. Otherwise, it's just getting camped. It's not worth making, which I personally don't understand, because usually, in my opinion, the smaller budget games usually have a lot more charm to them. Look at Grounded or Hi-Fi Rush, for example. Those games are about like $30 and they are really fun. I especially really like the indie scene, and this is why I keep saying that I moved mostly to indie games, because they genuinely get me excited. Sometimes I'm just scrolling on Twitter and I see a few of these games pass by. I see the developers like trying to promote their little baby, and I look at them and go, huh, that looks really cool, that might be fun to stream, and I just add it to my wishlist on Steam. Compared to the AAA market, where I see Suicide Squad and I go, oh, that is a stinky, poopy battle pass game, and I roll my eyes and continue. That's how I see the AAA market most of the time. It is important to say that I don't do this with every single AAA game. Again, I really liked Resident Evil 4 Remake, for example, and I also really like Deathloop, even though I kinda crapped on it a lot. But recently, Xbox also showed off a new Indiana Jones game, which looked really cool, and I'm honestly looking forward to checking it out when it launches. But again, that's usually only 10% of the time. The other 90% of the time, I see one of these AAA games and I go, that is a dookie on a fancy plate and nothing more. What I personally would really like to see is for these studios, instead of making one big game, make multiple smaller games, experiment a little, make a more focused experience instead of an open world space game where you explore empty planets with absolutely nothing. Why did they make this game? Seriously. There's probably a couple of reasons why studios don't do this, but like, something has to change, otherwise the industry will just straight up crash in some way, shape or form. I really think this is going to happen, but you know, I guess we have to find out. Yeah, that's all I really wanted to babble about. Again, sorry for not posting here for a while. I've just been super busy, but I am planning on streaming more on this channel, so if you're interested, you can just come say hello. We play some wacky games there. Yeah, anyway, that's all I want to say. Alright, goodbye everyone, take care, bye.